faculty, honored guests, parents, grandparents, other relatives, friends, and members of the class of 2003, I'm Judson Taylor, president of SUNY Cortland, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to Commencement 2003. This ceremony has been conducted at Cortland for 133 years. You, the class of 2003, will always be special as one of the few classes that will have attended college in 2 centuries. Historians will track your progress into the 21st century, and children will someday ask, what was it really like back in the 20th century? What we are about today, recognizing the achievement of our graduates, those who supported them, and those who taught them, links us with students, families, and scholars dating back to the 13th century. Such traditions give continuity, special meaning to the purpose of higher education, the pursuit of truth, knowledge, and understanding. On the platform are people who are important to this university and this college. Some are well known to you and others work quietly behind the scenes. You will meet those who have speaking parts later in the ceremony. At this time, I will introduce the other members of the platform party, asking them to stand and remain standing until I have presented them all. Please hold your applause until then. First are members of the College Council: Stephen Hunt from Katona, New York; John Edwards from Cortland, New York; Dorothea Fowler from Cortland, New York; Kimberly Potter Ireland from Burnt Hill, New York; Ronnie Janee, the president of the Student Government Association; Patricia Elliott Stevens, a member of the SUNY Board of Trustees. I also want to introduce Dr. Raymond Franco, Vice President for Student Affairs; Dr. William Schott, Interim Vice President for Finance and Management; Dr. James Boyle, Vice President for Institutional Advancement; Dr. Patricia Francis, Executive Assistant to the President; and Dr. Jalal Almazeda, Chair of the Faculty Senate; Mrs. Marilyn Mueller-Clark of the Cortland Foundation. I would also like to recognize the Mace Barrier, Dr. Mary Lee Martins, Professor of Foundations and Social Advocacy. A round of applause for our platform. At this time, I would like to note the presence of the faculty of the college. Their colorful gowns and hoods reflecting a diversity of disciplines and a spectrum of graduate schools remind us of their long labors as they prepared themselves for the critical responsibility of teaching. They have worked diligently to live up to Cortland's motto that students come first. Would the faculty please stand and be recognized? Among the faculty who have just applauded are some who stand out among the faculties of the great universities of the world because of their consistent high quality and dedication. To recognize outstanding faculty and professional staff members, the State University of New York has created Chancellor's Awards for Excellence and a super rank of Distinguished Professor. I am pleased today to announce SUNY Cortland's new honorees. Would they come forward as I read their names? Trustee Stevens will assist in recognizing the honor of the United States today. The former First Lady has championed important contemporary issues, such as access to education, human rights, religious tolerance, and the rights of women. As our senator, she serves on several Senate committees: Armed Services, Environment and Public Works, and Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. In the wake of 9/11, she worked to secure billions of dollars for New York City cleanup and recovery, to create new businesses, and to help those affected by the tragedy. An accomplished author, her books include It Takes a Village and Other Lessons Children Teach Us. She represents more than 19 million New Yorkers each day, and we're honored and grateful that she's joined us on this special day in the life of SUNY Cortland. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Hillary Rodham.
Thank you very much President Taylor. It is a great privilege and honor to be here at this commencement ceremony. I appreciate the invitation from the President and the College Council, the faculty. I am delighted to join alumni and others who are here to celebrate this occasion. And I have to recognize the extraordinary service that President Taylor has given to this extraordinary campus, one of the crown jewels in the SUNY system. And I know that his departure at the end of this academic year will be a great loss for Cortland, but I personally want to thank him and his wife Elise for their 8 years of service to the university. Thank you very much. Speech already, and then Ronnie gave his excellent speech, and I had to throw out everything about butterflies and caterpillars and all those commencement metaphors that are the stuff of speeches like this. I have to confess, it is a great pleasure to come here. I love commencements. Even if I personally don't know anyone graduating, I still get teary-eyed because I see the accumulation of these years of effort, the family members who have stood behind and with you throughout your lives, but particularly during your college experience, the faculty, and especially those who were honored today, who get up every day looking for ways to spark that interest, to light that lamp of learning. And yet, someone like me who is a commencement speaker is kind of like the parsley on the plate at dinner. It's not the main course, but it makes the plate look a little nicer, and it provides a little bit of opportunity for everybody to get settled in after driving from Syracuse or Binghamton or Rochester or New York City, wherever people came from. And so I get to have the enormous pleasure of looking at all of the real honorees of this event, looking at the graduates of the class of 2003, and I want to be among the first to say congratulations, job well done, and Godspeed for what you have achieved today. In thinking about coming to this campus, it is such a diverse curricula that you have enjoyed. So many of you are on your way to new careers, some to graduate studies, some to the military, some into other professional training. And it is also extremely well known and appreciated that this campus turns out more education majors, more future teachers than any other college in the entire state of New York. Appreciate greatly the fact that education is alive and well at Cortland, because I believe that it is through education and through a commitment to education, not only on the part of us individually. We're the ones who have to do the work. When you go to school, you have to perform, you have to achieve. But in a very real sense, this campus stands for a commitment to education that goes back decades and even centuries. The President said that you will have gone to school in 2 centuries. Well, it's been 3 centuries that Cortland has been developing as a first-rate educational institution. Many, many people who came before those of us in this gym believed in education, committed their resources, made the financial sacrifice. And as I look out at the horizon of our country right now and see where we're headed, the issues that we confront, the overriding question I ask myself every day when I have the honor to represent you in the United States Senate is, are we doing what we need to do today to prepare for the future? You've answered that question individually by doing what you needed to do every day and every year to prepare for your future. But I think that the question remains unanswered yet as to whether as a nation we are doing today what we should to prepare for the larger future you are about to enter into. Every generation of Americans has had one thing in common, whether we came over on the Mayflower, whether we were here when the Pilgrims came, whether we came through Ellis Island, whether we came last year. Every generation of Americans has fundamentally believed that the future could be better than the present and the past. Now, philosophers call that future preference, that you sacrifice today so you can have a better opportunity tomorrow. A lot of the parents and the grandparents in this audience sacrificed mightily. They made the hard decisions. People who couldn't go on with their own education in order to support a family. People who saved and saved to buy that first house. People who tried hard to keep that farm in the family after 2, 3, 4 generations. People who are so proud to see you graduate this morning. But if we ever lose that future preference in America, we lose the whole idea of what America really represents to the rest of the world. We can see now from the headlines, so many parts of the world are mired in their past. They're looking backwards, not forwards. They can't figure out how to work across religious and ethnic and tribal and racial lines. Instead, they keep reverting back to old ways, old ideas that keep them in a position that doesn't allow progress. We've rejected that throughout our history. That's one of the reasons our democracy is not only essential for us here, but as an example around the world. But we have to continue to make the investments that will make us safer and smarter and richer and stronger and better. And there isn't any more important investment than in education. Now, as we meet this morning, our newspapers and television news broadcasts are filled with new accounts of terror attacks. We're learning to live with color-coded threat levels. And we know that families throughout New York have been without loved ones who were sent to Iraq for the Gulf War there. And just down the road in Dryden, Staff Sergeant Patrick Lee Griffin Jr. was killed, leaving a wife and 2 young children. So the reality of what we are living with here at home in beautiful upstate New York is something we have to recognize and understand in order to meet the challenges it presents. We also face a struggling economy that will make it more difficult to obtain and keep the jobs that many of you have trained for. We see our budget deficit increasing dramatically. We see our debt limit going up to astronomical proportions. But it is the spring. And in the spring, one has to think about the future inevitably. Because the seeds that germinated during that long winter are finally bursting forth in color. And so we can ask ourselves, what is it we need to do right now in today's world to make a difference? Many of you, as you move forward from this day into your lives, will have opportunities to answer that question in large ways and small. It may be being a better son or daughter, a better husband or wife, a better parent. It may be being a better colleague, employer, employee. There are ways every one of us, and certainly including United States senators, can try each day to be a little kinder, to be a little more patient, more understanding. It's those small ways that all add up to increase the quality of our lives together. And then in the larger, more public ways, the differences we can make. And certainly those of you who are about to embark on your teaching careers are absolutely in a position to make a difference every single day. I hope that as you go out into the classroom, whether it is in New York City or in Watertown or Plattsburgh or Jamestown or Buffalo or Elmira or Cortland or Dryden, that you will understand how much we rely on you. I don't know that education has ever been more important than it is today. In part because there used to be so many more jobs, good jobs, that paid a good living and supported a family that people could do because they were willing to work hard. And they had skills, and they took those skills to the marketplace. And they made a difference for themselves and their societies. Today we know education has become almost a necessary ticket to be punched for today's job market. You've learned a lot about what's needed to teach in a classroom. We have to keep reminding ourselves in government and in business how important it is that you have the resources to do your jobs. There are still too many schools in New York that are woefully underfunded. Too many teachers who don't have the resources they need in the classroom. I don't know how many hundreds of dollars you will pay out of your own pocket to buy supplies that your students need. And I thank you for doing that, but I would prefer that we paid for those resources so that you didn't have to sacrifice your compensation income to do what we should. I hope all of those who criticize educators and teachers from the sidelines would perhaps take a few minutes, if not a few hours or even days, to go into a classroom, to try to teach, to exercise the skills that you have been acquiring. You know, I heard someone remark once that if a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist had 30 or 40 people in his or her office all at one time, all with different needs, some of whom didn't want to be there, some of whom were causing trouble, as some kids do, and that doctor or that lawyer or that dentist had to treat them all to the highest level of professional excellence, not for 15 minutes or an hour or two, but for 9 months, then he or she might have a better conception of what a classroom teacher's job is really like. And we've had a very spotty record about supporting education at the federal level. It's sort of one step forward, a half a step back. And we have a long way to go before we even fulfill the promises that have been made, starting with the promise to fully fund the federal share of special education, which was made back in 1975. 2 times now, we have voted in the Senate, since I've been there, to fully fund special education, to increase the dollars so that local communities don't have to raise property taxes in order to meet the special education requirements. As important as special ed is, as good a goal, as noble an undertaking as it is, we have got to have more federal help, or else it just turns into an unfunded mandate where the federal government says, go do this, but we're not giving you the money to do it right. And so I hope that finally this year we're trying again, we'll be able to get that federal commitment. But of course, we are now swimming in an ocean of red ink. We have gone in 2 years from a budget surplus to a budget deficit. We have gone from a balanced budget to a projected deficit of $500 billion. And what that will mean is that people then will say, well, we can't fund special education, we have no money. And they will also say we can't fund No Child Left Behind. The education majors and faculty know what that is, and many in the audience do. That was a bargain that we made with our educators. When I came to the Senate, I worked on education reform since 1983. And for the first time, we had a bargain. Yes, we would ask for higher standards, but we would provide resources to our teachers and our schools. We would make this bargain and we would tell local school districts, we are going to hold you accountable. We're going to hold your students accountable, but for the first time, the federal government is going to put resources into the classroom, into professional development for teachers, into making a difference. No sooner was the bill signed than the money was not forthcoming. So now we have all these school districts that are being expected to assign new tests, develop new tests. No money to do that. We have all these school districts that, because of our terrible state budget problems, are laying off teachers, are taking classrooms that we had gotten down to 20 or 25 and putting them back into 30 to 35. That to me is a breach of promise. A promise to our children, a promise to our teachers, a promise to us all. And I'm especially concerned because I think we should be doing much more to support teachers. I know that in April, 400 teacher recruiters came to this campus, and many of you signed contracts right on the spot. You have a strong partnership with New York City and the SUTEC program to make sure we get these young teachers in places where they need to be. But nationally, 20% of all new teachers leave within the first 3 years of teaching. Why? Well, I think you know why. Because you don't get the kind of support you need when it comes to student behavioral problems. You don't get the kind of feedback about your jobs. You don't get the mentoring and the support you need. I think that it's essential that we not only graduate you today prepared to be a teacher, but that we make a commitment so that you can stay in teaching and become the very best teacher that you can be, which will literally change lives for countless children that will come into your classroom. I will be introducing legislation next week that will provide resources to help teachers, administrators, and other school staff meet the needs of children with behavioral and emotional disabilities and disorders. Because too often, we have mental health professionals who intervene, we have special counselors who intervene, but it is the teacher in the classroom who spends the most time with these children. And the teachers need more help dealing with the problems that many of these youngsters have. So for those of you who are preparing to become teachers, I thank you for that. And I thank you for your commitment to the future. And to those of you who are about to embark on another career path, I thank you also for making the commitment to 4 years of college, to getting this degree, and then taking it out in the world that awaits. And I know that given your education from Cortland, given your experience that you've had here, that will stand you in good stead. You've done your part. Now it's our obligation as members of society to do ours. And I want to reiterate a point that Ronnie made, because it could not be stressed enough. I have come up with the idea in my own mind that if someone comes up to me any longer to complain about anything that's going on in New York, America, or the world, I'm going to ask that person, did you vote? And if the answer is no, I'm going to say, I think you have forfeited your right to complain about what's going on in your country. You know, many years ago, it seems like 100 years ago, but it was only about 30 plus years ago, I was among those students who thought that if we amended our Constitution so that people between 18 and 21 could vote, it would help to create a much more balanced electorate. And politically, the needs of older people, which I'm quickly becoming, would be heard along with the needs of younger people who were just starting out in their lives and had different issues and needs. It was a good theory. But of course it didn't work. And it didn't work for a simple reason, that after we amended the Constitution, nobody showed up. The fact is that young people 18 to 25 just don't vote. And I know there's a lot going on. There's all kinds of issues about, not only education and jobs and making a living and personal relations and everything that you have to deal with in those years of your life. But the decisions I make, the votes I cast in the Senate, have much more to do with your futures than with mine. what we're going to do about the economy, education, healthcare, the environment, security, both national and domestic, that will shape the world you're entering. So I would just conclude by asking and really challenging you that in addition to having this diploma, make sure you also have a voter registration card. Make sure you go to the trouble to ensure that at least your voice and your vote will be heard. It always won't go your way, but you will have then complaining rights as far as I'm concerned. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.
In education or the degree Bachelor of Arts from the School of Professional Studies have met the requirements as prescribed by the appropriate degree curriculum at the State University College at Cortland. I acknowledge them to you so that you may confer upon them the degree.
Mr. President, subject to verification, the candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts or the degree Bachelor of Science from the School of Arts and Sciences have met the requirements as prescribed by the appropriate degree curriculum at the State University College at Cortland. I acknowledge them to you so that you may confer upon them the degree.
Will all candidates please stand? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the State University of New York, I now confer upon graduates in the School of Professional Studies the degree of Bachelor of Science, or the degree Bachelor of Science in Education, or the degree Bachelor of Arts as appropriate to your degree curriculum with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. I also confer upon
Leslie N. Wolfser.
Heather Downs.
Lane Darman Levitt.
Sarah Marie Harrington.
Melissa Catherine Vile.
Jennifer Lynn Carville.
Darcy L. Lawrence Kruppa.
Angela D. Brown.
Kristen G. Barton.
Erica Lynn Schubner.
Doris J. Prompt.